Every day, first responders are tasked with handling hundreds of emergencies, but do they know what to do when an autistic person is involved? A local resident and her son have made it their mission to prepare some of South Florida's police officers and firefighters for these situations. Haley Richards has more.
23 years ago, Teresa Becerra's life was changed forever with the birth of her son, Robert Lee Becerra, who at 21 months was nonverbal and diagnosed with severe autism.
He's severe in the spectrum of autism. He's got encephalopathy, which is brain damage, and he also has epilepsy. He's also nonverbal.
Autism is a developmental disorder that impacts areas such as social interaction and communication skills. According to the United Way of Broward, 1 in every 59 children in the United States is diagnosed with autism. But if you ask Teresa, there's much more to her son than his autism.
I have got a little boy in there whose soul is enormously beautiful.
Robert is an artist, a dancer, and for over 14 years, he's helped his mom teach over 17,000 first responders in Miami-Dade and Broward counties how to identify and care for an autistic person during an emergency.
So I really want them to get how to do this, how to do it quickly, professionally, respectfully to the person with autism.
Through the trainings, first responders get hands-on practice with Robert, and his unpredictability makes the situation as real as possible.
Without him, these trainings would be nothing. But when he's in the room, he illustrates and brings everything I say alive.
Robert has a collection of badges, shirts, awards, and hundreds of letters from first responders who all describe the trainings with one word: life-changing.
And when they come up to me after a training and they say to me, I've never had a training like this in my entire career, that means everything to me. So those, for me, are the paychecks.
Every day, Robert continues to shine a light in so many people's lives.
What he's doing is so valuable as a human being that alone completely blows me away. What an honor for me to be a mother of a child like him. What an honor that he was placed in my life and that he and I could sail down this road together and become this team that's just doing good for our community.
This is Haley Richards for Bay Headlines.
When asked how much longer she'll be doing the trainings, Teresa says as long as she's by Robert's side, she'll keep going.
And when we come back, Haley and Teresa are in the studio to continue their conversation as Bay Headline continues.
Hey, can you help with that?
Oh, yes, please. Thank you.
So what's this for?
It's for a student food pantry. My professor told us there's a study that says about 50% of students experience food insecurity at one point.
Oh yeah, now that I think about it, there's been times where I've been tight on money and had to downside on meals too.
Yeah, I think just my way of doing my part.
You can visit the FIU Food Pantry at MMC and BBC. Visit our website for more information.
Welcome back to Bay Headlines. Joining me in studio, I have Teresa Becerra and Major Jorge Gomez. Hi guys, welcome.
Hi.
Thank you for having us.
So Teresa, the last time we spoke in depth about Robert and some of the first responder training that you do. I would like to get in more depth with why autism training and a little bit more about the training in itself.
Okay, so basically, the why would be easy. What we want to do is we want to help officers respond better to calls that involve individuals with autism. So we do a full-on training for them, which includes Autism 101, like how would they identify a person with autism, especially if dispatch has not told them that this call involves someone with autism. Then we go straight into how would they identify that person by looking at them visually. Then it goes further into communication. Now they've identified the person. How would they communicate with this person? Does a person speak? Does a person not speak? Then we go right into a little bit of treatment if it's a first responder, like say a firefighter, and then into transporting. How would they successfully transport someone either in their vehicle, their patrol car, or an emergency vehicle. So basically, we talk a lot about how to respond to calls in a residence, in a building, or even perhaps at an accident scene.
And how can people sign up for this autism training? How do they get the information and go about it from there?
So officers come to autism training through several different ways. They can get the autism training in the academy itself. They can get it at any time during their career. They can get it in an area if they want to go on to be an SRO, which is a school resource officer. They can get this education online in their departments. I mean, there's just so many different ways that they can access autism curriculum.
Awesome. Can you describe to us some of the tools and techniques that you train these first responders in the training? What are the hands-on things that are involved with the training?
Okay, so my training in particular is extremely interactive for law enforcement. They are up on their feet continually throughout the class and working hands-on with my son, who happens to be severe in the spectrum of autism. And, you know, some of the things I teach them is like, how would they communicate? He doesn't speak at all. Like, what would they do? So first, I have them come up. They visually look Robert over. They see, is he wearing any identifying markers? And then I teach them a little bit of sign language, you know, to direct him around. So they get that education. And then I go straight into, if they see the individual with a device in their hands, like an iPad, how to access information from that iPad that would be helpful for an officer to know. Like, what is the person's name? What is their phone number? Perhaps what's their address? That sort of thing.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for that. I'd like to include here Major Gomez. I have a few questions for you, sir. How do you feel about autism training? How did you feel about it before, and how do you feel about it after?
Right now, it's a great tool. It's a great tool for our officers, basically to identify what they're dealing with when they're dealing with a person that has autism. This training will teach them to identify things to look for, and basically by knowing the behaviors, they'll be able to give them the proper help. Before, when they didn't have this training, basically an officer would respond to a call with a person with autism, and really they didn't know the behaviors, how they were acting, and they didn't know exactly what they had. Mm-hmm. So right now with the training, we're able to properly identify the person and give him the proper needs, whatever he needs, either loss, take him home, find out who it is, find out the information, and our officers know exactly how to deal with that type of call with this training.
Do you feel more confident as a officer now that you've had the training to prepare yourself for autism?
For sure, for sure. When you deal with this, you get there, you didn't have the training, you really don't know. You see the person acting a different way that would normally act, and you don't know how to handle it. So with the training, right away the officer, when they get there, they know exactly what they have and how to proceed getting that person help.
Thank you very much for that. So, Teresa, do you believe now that law enforcement and first responders, it should be mandated for everybody across the state lines?
So autism awareness training is not mandated, but it is given, and officers can access the curriculum at any point in their career. There are some departments, though, around the state that do mandate that all of their officers take CIT, crisis intervention training, and autism awareness training.
What is the best advice that you can give a first responder or an everyday person like you and me, advice on autism and how to approach it and go about it?
So that's kind of like two separate questions. So for an officer, what I would suggest is they take as many autism training classes as possible, because each individual with autism is different and they'll have different exposure through each class and each instructor, because we all teach differently. So for them, I would say, please take as many classes as you can to be familiar with autism. For a lay person like you and I would highly suggest that they also educate themselves a little bit on autism. But most importantly, not to fear individuals with autism, be patient, and follow their own inner instinct.
Thank you guys so much for being here. We greatly appreciate it.
You're
Thank you for the
welcome. Thank
invite.
you. Thank you.
And we'll be back with more Bay headlines.